Welcome to part 2 of this video. So I cut out my bridal satin as lining piece for my skirt part, and the first thing I'll do is join the hem of both the bridal satin and the main fabric right sides facing each other. And after joining, this is what I have. Then I'm laying it down like this. I'll be joining the sides as well. Then afterwards I will be securing both the lining and the main fabric at the waistline. So I'm trying to pin it down so that it can all be one piece, and that's just what I'm trying to do. So if you notice, I had small excesses all around the lining piece, so I'm just going to be easing it into my waistline and pinning it down. I'm doing this trying to push all of my excess towards the waistline so that my bridal satin is not peeking out from underneath my main fabric when I'm done sewing. So all of the excesses will be on the waistline, and then I'll trim it out when I'm done. So I went ahead to stitch down my fabric and my lining piece, and this is the excess that I have on the waistline. So I'm going to be trimming that out, as you can see in the video. I have 6 inches of tulle right here, and first I'm making a straight line at the edge to cut out all the rough edges. Then I'm going to be marking 6 inches for my ruffles, and I'm going to be doubling each of it. So that means I will be ruffling 2 pieces of tulle at the same time. So I'm just trying to mark out 6 inches right here till I exhaust. I think I made use of about 8 pieces of 6 inches tulle. I think I made use of about 8 or 10. I can't really remember now. So you just cut out, as it really depends on how full you want your ruffles to be. After cutting out my ruffles, I placed 2 of it together and I made gather stitches at the center. So after making this gather stitch, I'm going to be dragging my thread to make this into ruffles, just the way you see it in the video. You need to take your time when you're doing this, actually. So I just dragged it, and after pulling the thread to make gathers, this is what I have. So I'm going to be attaching this to the base of my skirt part. So for the point where I'll be attaching it, I'll come up by 2 inches on my skirt fabric, and I'll be placing that point on the middle of my ruffles. Yes, just like this. Then I'll be stitching it down all the way around the skirt part. And this is what I have after doing that. You can see it looks really beautiful on the fabric. Yeah, and this is what the inside looks like. So now I'll be bringing in my bodice piece, and I'll be marking the center point of my skirt part. I'll be matching it up with the center point of my bodice, and now it's time to attach. Please note that I'm only attaching my skirt part to the main fabric of my bodice, because this dress is still going to have a lining for the lower part, for the skirt part. Yes, so I'll be attaching the bodice to the skirt part Remember, I added extra inches to the waist of my skirts, so I'm going to be pleating these extra inches as we go along. But first, I made sure I matched my center to my center, then I matched the ends, both ends of the bodice and the skirts. Now for the extra inches that I have, from the center point I marked 2.5 inches, then I marked another 2 inches, and I'm just going to be folding this over to make my first pleat. So you want to make sure your pleat is facing the side seam. I had to adjust my pleat here so that I can face the side seam on the right side. So I'll be pinning along as I go. Now after pinning the remaining extra inches that I have, I'm going to be pleating that as well at the back. So from the center back I marked 2.5 inches as well, and it is from this point that I will be making my back pleat, and I'll make sure it is facing the zipper allowance part when it is on the right. So this is what I have. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side as well. From the center point I mark my 2.5 inch. From there I pleated, and this is what I have after joining the bodice to the skirt part. Look at my pleats right there. Look at the back pleat as well. It is looking very beautiful already. Now we're going to be cutting the lining for the skirt part, and we're going to be making use of the waist measurement I have on my lining bodice. So now I folded a half circle, and I'm going to be marking out my waist, which should correlate to the same waist that I have on the lining of my bodice. Then I'll make sure the length of my lining is about 2 to 3 inches shorter than the skirt of my main fabric. So it has to be shorter so it is not peeking out. And if you want, this is totally optional now, you can decide to add fullness to your lining. But if you don't want fullness, you can actually go ahead and attach this lining just like this to the lining of your bodice, and you'll be fine as well. But I decided to add net to my lining. You can also go ahead and add tulle to your lining. It depends on what you want, but my tulle was not giving me the effect I wanted. That is why I had to use add net. From the base I marked about 4.5 inches, and this will be the first layer of my add net. You can decide to do 2 layers. It totally depends on your preference, so you get the gist. So I just came up by 4.5 inches and I marked that round on my lining, and this is the first line of my add net layer. Then I'm going to be coming up by another 4 inches and I mark my second line for the layer, then another one. It depends on what you want. So I would advise you just do 2 layers, because I had to remove the last layer I did because it was too full at the waistline. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that you leave at least 2 to 3 inches from the waistline down, because you don't want that part to be bulky. It really doesn't look nice. So this is just me drawing out the second layer, and this is it when I'm done with all of the lines. So like I said, I later made use of 3 lines. I had to get rid of the topmost one because it was too full. So the first thing I'll do is go ahead and cut out my hard net. I have about 4 inches out net here, and I'm going to be pleating it, making use of kissing pleating. Yeah, just watch the video and you get what I'm saying. Yes, so this gives it a fuller effect. I'm going to be doing that all the way around, following the line that I made. So when I'm done with this, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm done with the first layer here, and this is what it looks like. I figured out that it was too long. It should not be getting to the hem of your lining, so I had to trim it down by about 1 inch. Now I'm going to be cutting the second layer, and I just did the same thing for the 3 layers I worked with. Now this is what it looks like when I was done with it. You can see the hem part, and remember I told you I later went ahead to remove that very first, the topmost part, the one closest to the waist, because it was getting in the way. And this is what it looks like on the right side. Yes, the stitches will show. So now I'm going to be attaching this to my lining piece, right sides facing each other, just like this. And if you have any excess, just pleat it into it. So after stitching that, I went ahead to overlock it, and now this is what we have. So I just tried to lay it down. I tried to separate the lining from the main fabric so that you can see how far we've gone. Now the next thing to do is to fix our zipper. Now you need to make sure that your waistline aligns, it matches together. Then you're going to go ahead and join from the lower part right up to about 4 inches below your waistline with 1 inches. Remember, we're only dealing with the main fabric first, so we are joining the main fabric first. Now I'll go ahead and fix my zipper first on the main fabric alone, and then I would use my lining piece to cover it up and join it to the zipper as well, just to encase the zipper and make everything clean. And when I'm done, you see what it looks like. Now after fixing my zipper on the main fabric, this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to be cutting out the excess I have at the top, and I'm going to be flipping over my lining piece, still maintaining the same zipper allowance, and I'm going to be using that to cover up the zip. So I've also gone ahead to join my lining pieces from the bottom up to about 4 inches below my waistline, and that's what I'm talking about. So I left about 4.5 inches or about 5 inches. I think I later went down to about 5 inches below my waistline. Now I'm going to be placing my lining piece on my fabric, right sides facing each other. I made sure to cut out the excess zipper I have at the top. Then I'm going to be sandwiching my zip in between, and I'll make sure I stitch on the same line or as close to that line, the first stitch line I made on the zip. So I'm just trying to pin it down to make it easier for me, and after pinning it down all the way, I'm going to be stitching down on that same line that I made for the zipper on my main fabric. So after doing that, this is what I have. I'm going to be doing the same thing for the other side of the zipper as well. And so this is what you're going to have at the end of the day. Your zipper allowance is also very clean. Everything is tucked in. Now moving on to the sleeve, I had to recheck my armhole. I remember our armhole is 4.5 inches, so I just had to retrim my armhole a little bit so that I get my exact 4.5 inches. So that's just me trying to retrim it. Now I'm going to be measuring my armhole circumference, and I measured about 9.5 inches, and this is what I'm going to be using to cut my sleeve. But before doing that, I'll make sure that I join the lining and the main fabric at this armhole part, not the net part now, the lower part that doesn't have the net. I'll make sure I join it together so it is easier for me when I am joining my sleeves. For my sleeves, I'm making puff sleeves, so I'm going to be cutting a basic sleeve first with the lining piece, and I'm going to be cutting the main sleeve with my main fabric. So let's cut the basic sleeve first. I'll be marking my starting line first of all. Then from my starting line, I'll be coming down by 6 inches, which includes seam allowance. So my length is 5 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Now my cap's height, I marked it to about 2.5 inches, and I'm drawing my sleeve curve, my armhole curve right here. Remember that my armhole circumference is 9.5, and I'll be adding at least 1 inch seam allowance. And I also measured the band for the sleeve here, and I marked it out with seam allowance. Please don't forget your seam allowance. And now I'm going to be cutting it out and notching the center. So this is what we have for the basic sleeve. Now for the puff, I cut out my main fabric. It's about 9 inches by 27 inches. I cut 2 of this, and I'm going to be notching it at the center point, both the upper part and the lower part as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to match the bottom part of my basic sleeve and this very long strip together, and I'm going to be gathering it on it, right sides facing each other. So this is what we have. So after gathering it, I would make sure I overlock the rough edge. Now for the upper part, I came down by 3 inches. I should have done this before gathering, and I just tried to shape this to make an armhole curve, just a very long one. So I'm going to be matching this up as well, and I'm going to be gathering it just to fit in with the basic sleeve. So I gathered the side to fit in with the sides of my basic sleeve, and this is what we have. So I'm going to be turning it out now, making sure that they match. Then I'm going to be doing the same thing, basically gathering it at the top part too, making sure my center matches. So I make sure my gather is more to the center than the sides, because you don't really need that puffiness at the sides. You really need it more at the center. So this is what we have after gathering the top part as well. And I made 2 of this. Is looking very beautiful. I also went ahead to overlock the upper part, and then I'll be joining both sides by ½ inch, and I'll be fixing it to my dress. And after fixing, this is what it looks like. This is the inside of the dress. It's looking very neat as well. Now I'll go ahead and attach my applique to the front part of my dress. I'm going to be stitching down the applique. You can also make use of fabric glue, but I recommend stitching it down to the dress. And after that, this is what I have. It's looking very beautiful, and my client absolutely loved that dress. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.